Many people enter the world of energy work and psychic development carrying a quiet, subconscious fantasy. They want to become a solid citizen of the spiritual realm, wholesome, untroubled, perpetually harmonious, and wrapped in a neat, whitewashed cloak of constant light. They want the spiritual intoxication without the hangover. They want the sunlight and pure fantasies without ever having to touch the nausea, the filth, or the messy friction of being human. The author Hermann Hesse shattered this polite lie when he wrote, "There is no escape. You can't be a vagabond and an artist and still be a solid citizen, a wholesome, upstanding man. You want to get drunk, so you have to accept the hangover. You say yes to the sunlight and pure fantasies, so you have to say yes to the filth and the nausea. Everything is within you, gold and mud, happiness and pain, the laughter of childhood and the apprehension of death. Say yes to everything, shirk nothing. Don't try to lie to yourself. You are a bird in the storm. Love the storm. Let it drive you." Hermann Hesse. If you are using meditation, clairvoyance, or energy tools to construct a tidy persona that never gets angry, never feels lost, and never encounters chaos, you aren't waking up. You are simply building a prettier cage to buffer yourself from the world. Real spiritual growth does not happen by denying half of existence. It happens when you develop the capacity to hold your center while the storm rages around and within you. The Fourth Way and the Trap of Buffers. In the esoteric teachings of George Gurdjieff and P.D. Ouspensky, the greatest obstacle to human awakening is not our darkness, but our buffers. Gurdjieff explained that a buffer is an artificial psychological cushion created by the personality. Its sole purpose is to prevent us from feeling the painful contradictions between what we preach and how we actually live. Buffers allow us to sleep peacefully. They let us pretend we are unified, harmonious, and in control, when in reality we are a chaotic house of competing desires, fears, and instincts. When you step onto a psychic study group, the first thing that happens is the slow disintegration of these buffers. If you try to maintain the solid spiritual citizen facade while developing your intuition, your space becomes deeply conflicted. Your third chakra clenches trying to maintain an image of perfection, while your lower chakras, where the raw, unrefined material of life lives, get suppressed and shamed. This is why so many spiritual practitioners burn out or experience sudden chaotic breakdowns. They have tried to purify the stream by ignoring the riverbed. Ouspensky noted In Search of the Miraculous that real transformation requires friction, the intense, uncomfortable heat generated when the awakening spirit collides with the mechanical habits of the lower vehicle. I call this a growth period, the uncomfortable space between present state and future state. The time it takes your physical body to catch up to a refined or higher vibration. You cannot generate that alchemical heat if you are constantly running away from the friction. The alchemical necessity of the mud-long before modern self-help tried to sanitize spirituality. Manly P. Hall and the scholars of the ancient mystery schools taught that enlightenment is an alchemical process. In classical alchemy, you cannot jump straight to the rubido, the realization of the higher consciousness, without first passing through the nigredo, the dark, chaotic, decomposing prime matter. Theosophy similarly outlines the dual nature of human consciousness, the interplay between the higher manas, our divine reflective spirit, and the lower manas, our earth-bound animal vehicle. Theosophical tradition reminds us that the lower vehicle is not an evil defect to be destroyed. It is the necessary instrument through which spirit gains experience in physical form. Everything is within you, transcendence and mud, happiness and pain. When you sit in the center of your head as a clairvoyant reader or healer, your job is not to scrub the mud out of existence. Your job is to observe it with curiosity, humor, and neutrality. True neutrality is not cold detachment or squeamish avoidance. It is the radical capacity to look at chaos, grief, desire, and death without losing your sense of humor or stepping off your seat of awareness. It is seeing with an understanding that the human experience has room for all these things. You stop trying to convince yourself that you are a harmonious, enlightened master who has it all figured out. You realize you are a bird in the storm, and you learn to use the high winds of reality to lift your wings. Self-remembering in the eye of the hurricane, Ouspensky placed immense emphasis on the practice of self-remembering, the deliberate present-time state of holding the awareness. I am here, right now, experiencing this vehicle. When a growth period hits, when your emotions flare, or when physical reality gets chaotic, the sleepwalking ego panics and tries to restore order by building new buffers or blaming the world. But the sovereign practitioner uses that exact moment to self-remember. You step into the center of your head. You ground your body. You look directly at the storm, the uncomfortable emotion, the messy relationship, the somatic resistance, and instead of shrinking back into a defensive posture, you say yes to the moment. You don't need to lie to yourself. You don't need to pass a spiritual purity test. You simply set your crown to your own energy, blow a rose on your need to be harmonious, and let the storm drive you deeper into radical presence. Weekly reading exercise, the Golden Mud Audit Pair. Up with a reading partner this week, or in your own clairvoyant meditation practice, use your tools of discerning and focus them on the difference between the true self and a dominant sub-personality. You can also ask these questions in a reading with a psychic. Book a session with me if you want to look at these things together. The buffer scan. Look directly at the third and sixth chakras. Identify the psychological buffers or false facades the ready is running to prove to themselves or others that they are a good, harmonious spiritual citizen. The mud audit. Scan the first and second chakras. Look for the suppressed, unexamined mud, the raw anger, grief, desire, or physical friction that the ready has been afraid to look at out of fear of losing their spiritual standing. Self-remembering calibration. Bring the ready's focus directly into the sixth chakra, the center of the head. Check the vibration of the presence. Is it fully present in the seat of awareness, or is it getting pulled down into the emotional storm? Healing. Focus. Give a healing to an aura. Destroy any judgment pictures sitting between neutrality and reflexive response. Pour a rich stream of healing energy down through the crown, illuminating both the highest light and the deepest shadow with unconditional permission to exist. One small step, the bird in the storm. Reset. The next time you find yourself in the middle of a chaotic day, an emotional argument, or an overwhelming wave of internal friction, feeling the sudden, frantic urge to fix it or pretend you are above it, hit the pause button. Stop trying to manage the external situation or fix your feelings for 60 seconds. Step squarely into the center of your head. 2. Acknowledge the dual nature. Close your physical eyes, ground your first chakra, and say silently to your space, "Everything is within me, the gold and the mud. I shirk nothing." 3. Spread the wings. Reclaim your sense of humor. Laugh at the lie that you need to be a harmonious, solid citizen. Pour neutral gold into your crown chakra. Take a deep breath and let the storm run its energy while you hold the center. Journaling. Prompts for deep integration. Dismantling the buffer. What specific spiritual buffer or polite persona are you currently maintaining to protect yourself from feeling the messy, contradictory reality of your true human experience? Embracing the hangover. Where in your life or spiritual practice are you demanding the sunlight and pure fantasies, while secretly resenting or running away from the inevitable hangover and friction that comes with physical existence? Practicing self-remembering. How can you use your next uncomfortable, chaotic, or unharmonious moment this week as a trigger for Gurdjieffian's self-remembering, stepping into the center of your head rather than trying to escape the room? Step into the garden. Join the next spiritual FL-ite club. If you are tired of polite, sanitized spirituality and are ready to get your hands dirty on the actual workbench of your energy space, you belong in our circle. The Spiritual FL-ite Club is my monthly community garden. It is a dynamic, live environment where practitioners from my study groups step up to hone their skills, and seekers step in to receive profound, energetic communication, spiritual philosophy, and find immediate relief and release. We don't gather to perform for each other Or pretend we are harmonious masters who have eliminated the mud. We gather as birds in the storm, learning the real-world mechanics of holding our space, clearing buffers, and running high-vibration energy through every corner of our lives. Whether you want to practice reading energy without judgment or receive a clean reading that validates your raw, unrepeatable path, the workbench is open. Stop trying to be a solid citizen. Claim your spot in our next monthly container. Step into the center of your head, and let's ride the storm together. Secure your ticket to the next session, taking ownership of the space. Most people don't live in the center of their head. They live 3 feet in front of their faces, worrying about the future, a few feet above their head, disassociated, or lagging 2 feet behind their shoulders, obsessing over the past. When you vacate your center, your energetic field becomes an empty house. Stray thoughts, environmental anxiety, and the emotional debris of coworkers drift right in and take up residence. Manifestation requires authority, and authority requires presence. You cannot command energy in your life if you aren't home to sign for the package. Manifestation approaches. Compared approach. Mechanics vision versus execution. Ultimate outcome, ascended, disembodied focusing outside the body, over-activating the upper chakras while ignoring the root. High on abstract vision, zero capacity to ground ideas into physical form. Chronic spaciness, anxiety, and financial or emotional instability. Grounded, driver's seat, consciousness, firmly anchored behind the eyes, fully occupying the physical vessel. Clear-eyed clarity paired with immediate, decisive physical action. Unshakable boundaries, authentic authority, and sustainable manifestation. How does this change your life on a Monday morning? Imagine you are about to walk into a high-stakes performance review or a tense family confrontation. The typical spiritual advice is to pause, close your eyes, and try to find your center mid-panic. That is a defensive strategy, and it's exhausting. When you shift your paradigm to the driver's seat model, you don't use tools to find your center. You live in your center and use your tools from there. You walk into the room already occupying your body from your earlobes to your toes. Because your seat is occupied, the nervous energy of the person across from you has nowhere to land. You don't have to defend yourself because there is no empty space for their chaos to colonize. The exercise, the move in protocol. Before you check your phone in the morning, try bringing your attention more fully into your body first. 1. Close your eyes and imagine a tiny, brilliant point of light sitting right in the middle of your brain, directly behind your eyes. 2. Drop a heavy anchor or a grounding cord from the base of your spine straight down into the center of the earth. 3. Silently command, I am completely present in this room, in this body, right now. Drop your awareness into your feet. Bookmark this physical sensation. This is your baseline. If you notice your mind drifting to your to-do list, you've climbed back onto the roof of the car. Step back inside. Journal prompts for self-observation. Look back at the last 3 times you felt intensely anxious or overwhelmed. Physically, where was your attention located in those moments? Were you in your body or were you hovering outside of it? In what areas of your life, Gurdjieffian, finances, romance, health, are you trying to wish a solution from an ascended abstract space rather than taking grounded physical ownership of the situation? Questions to bring to your next reading note. To reader, true spiritual guidance isn't about predicting the future. It's about uncovering the invisible forces shaping your present. If you find yourself hitting a wall with these concepts, here are a few highly targeted questions we can explore together in a dedicated psychic or mediumship session. Where exactly in my body or energetic field am I vacating my driver's seat, and what specific childhood patterns cause me to run away from my center during conflict? Are there foreign energies or ancestral blockages currently sitting in the center of my head, mimicking my own voice and hijacking my manifestation power? What root chakra lessons or fears of being physically human am I avoiding by trying to stay ascended? From insight to integration, a blog post can spark a revelation, but a practice builds a life. Information without practical application is just nice ideas and doesn't create meaningful growth and change. If the concepts of energetic anatomy, self-remembering, and dynamic boundaries resonate with you, let's take them off the screen and into your daily routine. Join a study group to access the complete library of tools, meditations, and techniques designed to help you run your own energy with absolute precision. Click here to learn more about upcoming study groups. For over 25 years, I have been driven by a single, uncompromising objective: to strip the illusion out of the unseen world and hand total energetic autonomy back to the individual. My work, both in high-fidelity private sessions and study groups, is to help build your own psychic capacity to interface with your lived experience cleanly, autonomously, and without dogma, using your inherent spiritual and intuitive gifts. Book a session